So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for you to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen with ideas we're happy to share.
Hello and welcome to this episode of So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. Happy New Year! And I'm exaggerating a little bit because I'm really excited. Those of you who've been watching the show for a while know that I'm in Durham, North Carolina, but I'm so excited. I actually recorded this segment and this was done in December and I'm visiting... Hi Cody, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, it's such a pleasure to have you, Dylan. This has just been wonderful to have you in my kitchen.
Oh, it's been great.
Thank you. And we have another surprise.
Who else is here? Look at this. I have one of the kids in the kitchen, Nora and Ella and Ava. I love hanging out with you guys. We've known each other through so many cooks and so many kids in the kitchen, but have never met. And we feel we know each other super well, that we've never met, right? When I showed up, you guys knew me and I knew you.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you here.
Oh, it's been a delight. I've loved every moment I've been here. So thanks for hosting me, girls.
Yeah.
Thanks for hosting, sweetie.
Right.
So,
See you later.
Cody invited me. Why did you invite me, Cody?
Well, we had a film screening of Code Blue at Nebraska Methodist Hospital, and that was actually yesterday, and it was such a wonderful event, and I was just so thrilled to have you in person for that, and Dr. Sarai Stanzik to join us virtually. Nor, if you want to go play Sisters, we'll see you later. Thank you.
Code Blue is a film that I was involved with making.
Yeah, I know. It was wonderful. You're the executive producer of that, right? So, yeah, it was incredible. So thank you, Dylan, for coming in for that and
Thanks.
for just spending some wonderful time with us.
Well, thank you. Nebraska is one of the very few states I've never been to until now, and Cody and I are really good friends, and it's like we finally met, and it's been awesome cooking together.
It has, definitely.
So although we have pre-recorded, we came up with a really nice recipe, and it borrows from different traditions. We're making
lentil
bites.
Lentil bites, that's right.
This dish just got invented today. We just named it.
I
Just
know.
got christened.
Yes, I know. Oh, let me tell you, you're gonna love this recipe. Dylan is just wonderful.
Cody's just wonderful.
Thanks, Dylan. But I just really, it's such a pleasure cooking with you.
Oh,
It was fun
likewise.
making this recipe together.
So please forgive us because we put this together just in a few hours.
Yeah.
So know that in our show, our recipes are well tested. We've done them for a long time, but this was an opportunity for two cooks in the kitchen who didn't cook together until a few days ago to actually do something, and we're pleased with the results.
Yeah, it's delicious, and my whole family's tried it, and they absolutely love it. So your kids are gonna love it. I mean, it's just wonderful. So we're excited to share with you.
And this shows that it's easy. Plant-based cooking is so easy. There's so many easy things to do.
And affordable.
So Cody, tell us about the main ingredient. What's the big deal about it?
So we have green lentils, and lentils are fantastic. So you can get them in bulk. They're very affordable. They store really well, and they last a long time. So they're high in protein and fiber, folate, magnesium, zinc, and let me see what else. Oh, B vitamins and iron. So this is just such a healthy food.
And you don't have to use green lentils. You can use brown lentils.
Yep.
You can even use split lentils if you want.
And it probably cooks faster, right?
It cooks faster, right? So let me tell you how we cooked it. So I like pressure cooking, and Cody kind of likes pressure cooking too.
Yep, I'm learning more and more. That just since Dilip has been here, he's taught me some wonderful tricks.
I learn a lot from her. The way we cook these lentils is you take 1 part lentil and 1.5 parts liquid, right? And in some dishes, like soups and all, you'll use broth, for example, like a vegan broth.
Right.
With lentils, don't do that. It doesn't come out so well with broth. You want to use just good water. So 1 part lentil, 1.5 parts water. All these recipes are available in our recipe document. And then I pressure cook. I add some turmeric. Turmeric is awesome. Don't let it stain you. Some cumin. How's the cumin smell, my friend?
Ooh, sounds good.
And some garam masala, which is a combination of spices. Okay, so garam masala, cumin, and turmeric. You can add a little salt if you want. And I pressure cooked 1 part to 1.5 parts for, I think it was about 20 minutes. Now, stovetop, you can do that.
Yeah.
But you do exactly the same ratio, same spices, but not 20 minutes, but
Like 45, yeah.
45 minutes. So, and when you're done, here's the lentils. Okay? And usually when you make lentils, let me show it, so you can get a close up here. You can cook lentils with more water. You can do one part lentil, 2 part water, but we use less water because
we wanted it to kind of stick together
Yeah.
and form those lentil bites.
that's right, right. And you can vary this, and you know, we made this an hour or two ago, so it's getting a little solid, and we just tried it. It's still coming out well, but if it gets too solid, then
You can just add a little bit of water and then just mix it around really well until you get it to the stage that you'd like it, where it will form the little balls to stick together well without falling apart, and it works really nicely.
So let's talk about some of the ingredients and what we're going to do, then we'll do it and show you. It's pretty easy. So let me talk about one ingredient that's kind of cool, that's new for me, and I guess new for you too.
Yeah, brand new, but I love it already.
So it's called sumac, and this is what it is. This is a berry. I'll show it here, and then I'll show a close-up. So I've been doing a lot of teaching through a Turkish center, and I've been learning more about Turkish cuisine. They even had me teach my version of Turkish cooking. I had a class recently. So these are sumac berries. Now, a lot of these natural botanicals are full of good nutrients. This hasn't been well researched, but we know that sumac is great with antioxidants, okay? And it's probably good for many other things. So sumac berries, and we're using a ground sumac. You can actually put sumac in water and it becomes kind of citrusy, and you can make a lemonade, or you can use it to add some sort of, kind of citrusy flavor. And I do love my citrus, don't I, Cody?
know, it sure does, let me tell you. Oh my goodness, and it's such a beautiful color.
It is, and so you can put this in water and use the water, or you can get pre-ground sumac. And I've started experimenting with it, and today, or during my visit, I've been thinking of what we could do for the dish, and we were thinking of what to cover the lentils with. And the sumac really is good. It adds a nice flavor. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a ball. We're going to take the lentils. Our hands are washed. We're going to put them together. This is a great thing for kids to make, right?
Oh,
And
yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
like Play-Doh.
Yeah.
And we want the spices, and there's an alternate spice instead of sumac, because before you tell us about that, you might be saying, but Dilla, you and Cody are great cooks, or at least Cody's a great cook.
Oh, I learned a lot from you, Dylan. My goodness.
Yesterday we
You're
put together 2 quick dishes in 40 minutes or something for our
Yeah,
spring screening.
it was wild and fun. Oh my goodness, let me tell you. I think I was getting one of those old, nursing adrenaline rushes.
I'm so excited to cook with you.
Oh, same here, Dylan.
But you might be saying, you guys are in the know, and sumac, I've never heard of it. Maybe you're watching in Turkey, of course we've heard of it, but many of you may not have heard of it. I can't get it. I don't know where to find it, because a lot of stores don't have sumac, and that's a good point. So what could you use instead of sumac? We did a little brain scratching and came up
with sage, ground sage. And let me tell you, it is delicious with this as well.
And so you have a choice of one or both. And then the idea is we're going to make a ball. We're going to use our thumbprints. Do we have similar sized thumbs? Let's see. We do.
Oh my
It's amazing. Thumb friends. We're going to impress with our thumbs. And then we're going to, we made a yogurt, and vegan yogurt, right? And so this is called raita. I'm going to show it here. Raita is a traditional Indian dish, and it's usually my mom would make it with yogurt. She'd use cow's milk yogurt. We were using vegan yogurt. We'll talk about yogurt in a second. Some cucumber, and usually my mom would use black mustard seeds, but we didn't have black mustard seeds. You could put a little salt as well. So tell us a little bit about yogurt. Yogurt is good. It's full of good bacteria, probiotics, right?
Yeah, and that's wonderful for your overall health, right? It helps decrease inflammation, healthy microbiome. It actually helps, like I said, with the decrease of inflammation, improved immune function, and it actually helps with the neurotransmitters to the brain. So it's very important to have healthy gut bacteria. So this is the probiotics, which helps that occur. And let me tell you guys, Dilip taught me something amazing. He taught me how to make homemade yogurt. I never thought I'd be able to do that before, but oh my goodness, it was the easiest thing ever.
I promised 30 seconds. 30 seconds learning time, right?
Oh, you know, it's one of those things where you're so intimidated to do it on your own, but to have such a good friend come all the way from North Carolina to spend time with you and teach you these wonderful tricks, it's just been a joy, and I'm going to treasure this trip, you know, with you here for the rest of my life.
My yogurt will always be with you, right?
That's right. Yeah, he had to
May
bring
the yogurt be with you. May the yogurt be
he traveled with his yogurt cultures in your suitcase, or yeah.
And 2/3 of my suitcase full of food for you. Treats from North Carolina.
He brought me so many treats, you guys.
So be careful if you invite me to your room. I might show up with an extra suitcase. Bread and jam and all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm going to invite you over more often.
Can't wait. And so it's easy. We're not going to talk about today how to do it, but some of you may know, and I'll post a link of how we did it. But Cody, if you don't know how to make vegan yogurt, is it easy to get yogurt in the store?
Yeah, you know, we have one here that we picked up today, and it's an Oatly brand, and this is a really nice...
Actually, yesterday, I think.
Oh, was it yesterday?
I think so.
Yeah, we've done a lot of shopping, though, too.
I love food shopping. So there's many brands. This is Oatly, and this is made with, I think, oat milk, and there's coconut milk based, soy milk based. Just watch it. It says vegan, and there's so many varieties.
Yeah, and it's just a plain yogurt. You know, we didn't get anything with the added fruit or anything, but that's something you want to keep a lookout for if you do get vegan yogurts with the added fruit, that they don't put a lot of sugar in it too. So you got to really watch that. So, but to make your own, you just get a plain one, right, Dilip? And then you can use this as your starter, right?
Yeah, if you don't have somebody showing up from North Carolina with a yogurt culture in their suitcase. And so what we did is we chopped some, all the detailed recipes are in the document. We chopped some cucumber. Isn't this fun working together?
It is.
And I just mixed a little salt in and the cucumber, and we could put black mustard seeds. And then what we're going to do is make a hole. We're about to do this. Put some yogurt in, and we'll talk about what if you don't want to use yogurt. And then we can garnish it with some, let's show them the beautiful, and you did this hard work. Cody did all the hard work for today.
Oh, this wasn't anything. I just, you know,
I couldn't do this without you.
Same here. Well, pomegranate is just such a beautiful addition to a lot of dishes. It reminds me of like ruby red corn, you know, it's just beautiful. So much fun.
And it adds to that savory sweet combination, which is something I often look for. How about you in your cooking? Yeah.
It's delicious.
And so we'll put the yogurt and then garnish it with that. And you can put some
green onions on it.
If you'd like some green onions.
Yeah.
And finally we can spread some smoked paprika.
Yep.
Yeah.
And smoked paprika.
So I'm a Johnny come lately. She's the expert at this kind of thing. Early on in So Many Cooks in the Kitchen, people said smoked paprika. I remember you did too, and never used it. So I'm new to it. So what would you say about it? What's the, not necessarily nutritional benefits, but the culinary benefits?
Oh goodness, I don't know. It just gives it that extra little something. You're like, you know, there's something really interesting in this dish, and you made a really awesome kale chickpea salad.
Oh, for the screening, yeah.
And let me tell you, and
we made it.
Well, no, you better take the credit. Let me tell you, he put a little bit of that in there, and oh my goodness, I could just barely tell, and it would just made just more of a, I guess, deeper flavor, and oh, it was so
the
good.
smokiness is interesting.
It is, yeah.
And so let's make it, and we'll make one round, and then we'll talk about, like, some people.
Yeah, so some people don't care for yogurt.
Your husband.
You know, yeah. And so then, you know, what do we do?
And we'll show you in a second.
Yeah.
But let's begin. Let's make a couple of them. So after you, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Isn't this fun, guys? Having two cooks in the kitchen together? I'm having a lot of fun.
I am too.
So delighted I get to work in your kitchen. And so, again, this episode we recorded in December, so it probably looks live. And I'll be back in North Carolina in January. So there we go. So we took a tablespoonful, and she's far better at this than I am. Let me hold yours up to the details.
Lots of Play-Doh, right?
Yeah, she has more kids than I do. So I'm not so good at this part, right? So.
Oh, I think you do a great job.
Yeah, so I don't do a lot of baking. This is people who make lots of cookies are good at this stuff, right? So But anyhow, and here's a tip. If this is not forming a ball, then you could also mix in some bulgur, and we're going to talk about bulgur in a second. Or you can mix in some dried onions or maybe a little bit of flour, that kind of thing, if it's too wet. Yeah,
definitely.
And if it's too dry, just add some water. But you want this to hold together. This is really perfect, right?
Yeah,
I
this
believe
is
we
great.
created this recipe in just a few hours.
I know.
Yeah. And then it's moist. We want to make sure it's nice and moist. So we're going to dip in orange juice. And did I already talk about the Meyer lemon?
Not yet.
Okay. So we squeezed some organic orange. This was Valencia. And I want to make sure I give a plug if you get a chance. This was the first time you had Meyer lemons. They're like a cross between lemons and oranges. They're really good.
Yes.
And you can use this, but it gets kind of tart. So I'll let you dip first.
Okay, so we're just gonna put that in a little bit of juice.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a lot of nice juice there, Dylan.
Yeah. So we're dipping this nice and moist. Your hands should be nice and clean. And then we can dip in either the sage or the sumac. So she'll do sage, I'll do sumac. Look how gorgeous mine is. I'm sure yours is at least as gorgeous.
That color is beautiful.
I'm going to hold mine up.
That looks nice.
I don't know if you can see that. Want to hold yours up?
Yeah.
So they're both really nice flavors. And then what we're going to do is we're going to compare our thumbprints. I'm just going to press in lightly and like this. I know there are cookies, thumbprint cookies or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So yours is going to be better than mine, I have no doubt.
Oh,
But there's my thumbprint.
that looks good. Kind of like a little nest.
Like a nest, yeah?
Yeah.
Show yours off too. Okay. She says she learns from me. I learn a lot from you. You're much better at this than I am. And then let's do the yogurt. So put a little bit of the raita in India. In Indian cuisine, this is called raita. Okay, so it's the cucumber and yogurt. And it's looking good. I like the contrast. One thing I do in cooking is I like the food to look really pretty, and this kind of contrast is a good thing.
Yeah, this is a gorgeous little
I
recipe.
guess we should grab some plates, huh?
Yeah.
And then we're going to garnish it with a little bit of this beautiful, again, Cody prepared the pomegranate. I didn't want to get splashed on. So I'm a lazy cook. She's...
I'll let you do yours first. And
Okay. Well, we can do it in parallel. So there's the pomegranate. And then, yeah, there's the pomegranate. And then we can put some green onion if you want. This is optional. But it adds color and adds a little bit of tang, a little bit of zest, rather. And then finally, Cody had a good idea of, instead of using a spoon, just sprinkling a teeny bit of the smoked paprika. But there you have it. We have, let Cody finish hers.
Okay.
Let's both hold ours up to the... You can see that. It's beautiful, nice color. Hers is kind of greenish. Mine's kind of brownish, reddish.
They
Let's
smell
see.
delicious.
Yeah, they do smell good. And they look good.
Yeah.
You can even garnish it with a sprig of... I even brought rosemary from North Carolina.
Yes,
you
you
did.
did.
Sprig of rosemary. And so that's pretty good. But then you might say, you know, we're preparing for Cody's husband or somebody else who doesn't like yogurt. And so instead, let's try something else. Let's do one more round.
Okay.
So let's get a spoonful of the lentil. You know, you can make this smaller if you want. Like for your children, I made a smaller one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ava had some for a snack that you made
Yeah.
after school today,
So
and she loved them.
So she came from school. I said, "Have you had a snack?" And so, if you don't know, Ava, Ella, and Nora are part of so many kids in the kitchen, and my daughter Anu is also part of that. She's visiting India, and that's why, as a consolation prize, I'm very lucky to be with these guys. Not a consolation prize. I miss my daughter and my wife, but I'm so happy to be with you guys too.
Aww.
So there's the ball, and we do the same thing. We start by dipping it, and let's do the mixture. You want to kind of go over me? We'll switch.
Yes.
No, let's kind of. This will be kind of fun, right?
All right. So let me do mine here.
Yeah. So I'll.
All right.
Right. So I'm going to put a little bit of this, and then let's do both. Let's put both seasonings.
Oh yeah. That was a great idea. Oh my goodness.
Right. It's a little splotchy, but interesting. So we have both seasonings, and then we're going to make our little indentation. You can experiment. We tried indenting, and then, well, you really want to first dip. Okay?
Yeah, I feel that. I forgot and I did my indention first, but that's okay.
And of course, hers is better than mine. Mine isn't holding up as well. We're going to skip the yogurt because some people don't like it. So instead, we're going to use this bulgur. Bulgur is easy if you can get a fine-grained bulgur. Put it in a pan, 1 part bulgur, 2 parts water, or broth. Broth is fine here. Bring it to a boil, let it simmer, turn off the heat after 5 minutes or so, and cover it. After 15-20 minutes, it will look like this. Let me show the bulgur to everybody. Okay, so here's the bulgur. Right? And there's different cuts of bulgur. This actually isn't the finest. This is a medium. And so, yeah, what we could do then is we can put the bulgur inside, which you've already done. Oops, are we double there? So here's the bulgur. And then what say you about garnish? We still use some pomegranate and some paprika?
Yeah, let's do it. Or I'll do it on mine. And
Okay.
It's up to you if you want to put it on yours or not.
I think a little green onion would also be nice on this.
Uh-oh. Drop
Luckily, we're at her house, so she gets to clean up, right? Do I have to clean up?
We'll have the kids clean it. No, I'm just kidding. All right, yeah, that turned out really
Yeah,
nice.
so there's some green onion and some, right, there we go.
Yeah.
Look how pretty this is. Never mind our hands. This will make your hands messy, right? Right?
Right.
Until we're friends, we look similar, right? So there's the non-yogurt version. And that's it. This is pretty easy. Why don't we both hold our plates up? So we have 2 of them. Actually, we have an earlier one, so you can see 3. So these are called lentil bites. Easy peasy, nutritious, low in fat, tasty, nice flavors. Try it at home. It's nice.
Oh,
Very
man.
nice.
Yes, these are delicious.
If we could take our masks off, we would try it on camera. But we've tried these and we like them.
They are, yeah. They're delicious.
So it's been an honor cooking with you and so wonderful hanging out in person with you.
Oh my gosh. Yes,
Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming all the way to Omaha to spend
been a
time
delight.
with me and my family. We just dearly love you and just really appreciate you coming out here
Thank
with
you.
us. And
Thank you.
It's been so much fun.
So
Dylan.
wonderful. And we love you guys for watching us. I will kind of give Cody a hug. I won't touch you because my spices. But you're in for a treat because next we get to introduce, this is recorded, but Janin is going to be cooking. This is a January show. It's just December here, right? Right.
Yes.
So we're jumping ahead. Are we going faster than the speed of light or slower than the speed of light or something like
Seems
that?
like it, right?
So next we know we'll blink our eyes 3 times and it will no longer be December. It's not yet Christmas. It's Hanukkah has passed, but not Christmas. Diwali has passed. Speaking of which, one thing I like about this is it borrows from so many traditions, Turkish, Indian, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's nice, Middle Eastern
Definitely.
taste, yeah.
I've learned so much from you. So
I always
thank you
learn so
for
much
this.
from you, my friend. So jumping back to January, so to live mode now, so is Janin Orhan.
Yeah, and she's out in Abu Dhabi, so it's wonderful to have her join us.
She has a nice name to her show. It is 4 Recipes and a Date. What could she be doing?
I don't know, but it sounds intriguing.
I think it's a bunch of date recipes, right? And she's making a pun on date, right? So.
That'd be a good one.
Thanks for watching us.
Thank you so much.
Dilla Barman from, not Durham today, but
Omaha.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
And
and thank you. This is Cody Stubbe from Omaha, Nebraska, and thank you again, Dylan, for joining me.
thanks, Cody. Take it away, Janin. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy snacks.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Dilip. Hello, Cody. How nice that you two were together. I wish I could have beamed up and joined you. But alas, here I am in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to my kitchen in Abu Dhabi. Today, I will talk to you about a Middle Eastern favorite. It's something that I've learned to know and love a lot more since I've moved here. And they're dates. Dates have a really long history in the Middle East, dating back to, no pun intended, dates dating back to 6,000 to 8,000 years ago in Mesopotamia. It was already cultivated and consumed there, and ever since then it's continued. And its geographical coverage around the world has expanded all the way from Asia to the United States. It's also being grown in Europe and Spain and other places. And it's enjoyed, I think, globally. And Dates have a big cultural importance here. It's used part of ethno-medicine, used for certain ailments, help with childbirth and menstruational issues and so on. But they're also very helpful for our gut flora. They're very nutritious. A date such as the medjool date, which we're in the Western world, we're very familiar with the medjool dates. These things I just weighed. They're about a little under an ounce, and they contain nearly 2 grams of fiber, 1.6, 1.7 grams of fiber per date, and they have about 70 grams of 70 calories, and they're high in quite a few of the minerals like calcium, magnesium, potassium, and phosphorus. So potassium also is really good for your heart. But the fiber especially is really good for your gut health, and it's got also polyphenols. They're antioxidant phytonutrients, helping us to fight illness and even keep cancer at bay at times. So here we are. Like I said, I knew the medjool dates before coming here, and since being here, I've learned that there are literally tens and tens of different varieties. I have 5 of them here for you. The medjool, kudri, safawi, ajwa, and sukari. The ajwas are tiny. They're about 1/4 of the weight of the medjools. They're darker in color and they're striated. If you could see, I wish you could see them. The safawis are one of my favorites. They're sort of a medium size. They're not very overly sweet, and I like using them for my purposes. And so are kudris. They're awesome. And these sukaris are, to me, the name sukari is reminiscent of sugary, and they're sweet, and they're also, if you could see, they're really moist inside as opposed to some of the other ones that are much drier. But here I am. Today I'm going to share with you some recipes. Actually, I called it 4 recipes and a date. So the first one is easy. You basically take an apple and slice it as you wish, and then take your date. Here's a tip. If the dates you buy have not already been pitted, you need to pit them. There's a really thick pit in it. And there's also this rather tough end to it. So you can take the tough end out, as you can see here. And then slice your date lengthwise and open it up. And here you are, the pit. And I learned that some people are actually grinding, and making some coffee-like beverage from it. So here's the date, and you can now cut it as you wish. I'm cutting them lengthwise. And here you are. Ta-da! Apples and dates. Your snack number 1. The tartness of the apple and the sweetness of the date really nicely balance each other. On top of it, both of them really full of fiber. They're very good for you, and this is a very low glycemic index snack for you. For those of you who are worried about your diabetes or other things, this snack might be the one that you go for. Also much lower in calories than some of the other ones I'm going to share with you, but it's yummy, believe me. So, apples and dates. The second one I have just so happened that as I was getting ready for this show, I saw a recipe on forks over knives, and I decided I'd share that with you. Oh, just to remind you, all our recipes are available to you on a booklet on our Facebook page, so I'm not going to go detail by detail all the recipes. So the second one comes from Forks Over Knives. It recommends to use the medjool dates, and here it is. Again, mine are not pitted, so I have to take this tough one part out here and make a slice, making sure that I'm not going all the way through. take the pit out, and here's my date ready for stuffing. So this recipe called for 3 different kinds of nuts: pistachios, walnuts, and almonds, and have them chopped. I already chopped them using a knife. You could also put them in a food processor and chop them, not powder them, but chop them in that. And the recipe calls also for some orange rind and orange zest. I used my little handy dandy gizmo to zest the orange beforehand. As you see, it makes really nice ribbons. And then this recipe called for the zest to be finely chopped, so here it is. And it says to use some of the dates that you have for making a mix. So I have my nuts chopped. I'm going to put them together with the chopped dates, as the recipe calls. Mix them, and they're so gooey now. And you can do all of this in a food processor if you wanted. The dates are really sticky, so you can see how I'm having a hard time mixing it thoroughly. But if you had them in a food processor, you could probably pulse them a few times and get them all ready. Nevertheless, I have them here in a very nice way. The sticky dates help keep all the nuts in place. And there you go. Stuff them well. There's a beauty. Here's our date snack number 2. Easy peasy. And also very yummy. The orange zest really balances also once again the sweetness of the dates. So the third recipe I have, I'm going to use my Safawi date again. This one doesn't have the tip, so I'm going to make a big slice lengthwise, open it, take the pit out. Now, here we go. This is just so yummy. A bit more high calorie. I recommend that you get yourself a really good quality single ingredient peanut butter. So I have one, I'm lucky. So I take about a teaspoon of the peanut butter. I stuff it into my, oh yum, these are my favorite. And then onto that, I make a few more ribbons with my little zester. It makes just beautiful ribbons that you can use as they are. Also works really well with lemon zest too. So this is my peanut butter filled date, and I put on top my ribbons of orange zest. Number 4. I use again my Safawi date. Take the tip off, take the pit off, put some peanut butter again, about a teaspoon. And I leave some on the surface. I don't have it all perfectly in, so to make it a bit messy, let's say. And I have here a really good quality, few ingredients, vegan, bitter chocolate bar. And it's got no funny ingredients in it. I found it, it's called, I like the name, it's called Freakin' Healthy Raw Chocolate Bar. It's got 70% cacao, no dairy, no added sugar, so I like it. And here's my date with the peanut butter oozing from it. And I go in to my homemade chocolate chips. And to that, you can also add, if you want afterwards, a few ribbons of orange. And here you are. Really quickly, I have 4 different kinds of snacks, and these things can actually double up for desserts. They're really amazingly delicious, and if you want to serve some awe-inspiring, easy to make, time-saving desserts, these are for you. Go for it. And the good news is I've demonstrated for you the use of just a couple of nuts, but you can go crazy. I have pecans here. You can also slice your date and put a pecan in it, hazelnuts in it. Use your imagination. Whatever nuts you like, you can do that. Also, you can make like a powdered pistachios and sort of dip them in it. And a wonderful thing that helps is melting your chocolate, drizzling it over your dates, and letting it dry on it. Just the possibilities are endless. And I think my time is up, but before I go, I would like to introduce you to our next colleague and friend, Mark Serpenick, who is in Chicago, Illinois. So here we go, all the way back to the United States, to Chicago. Goodbye from Abu Dhabi. I hope to see you all next time on another episode of So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. Bye.
Hi everybody, Mark Serpenick. Let's Eat Great Food. You can find me at let'seatgreat.com or on Facebook at Let's Eat Great Food. Just having a heck of a popped up time today. We're going to make some really simple popcorn. Yeah, you're saying, wow, that's like really super easy, isn't it? Well, I'm going to show you a little way to dress it low fat, no fat. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some liquid aminos in a bottle like this. We're going to mix about a 60-40 mixture. So 60% water, about 40% liquid aminos. You can even go a little bit less than that if you'd like, a little bit more than that. I just don't like the full strength of liquid aminos because it's a little too salty. So what we do is we just want to shake that mixture of water and liquid aminos, and we spray, kind of like we used to spray butter back in the day, some of us. And we just kind of mix that up really, really good like that. And you can get your hands in there if you're just having it by yourself or with your family, so because they're used to your hands. And then we could add our own little touch to this. So I can add some no salt seasoning here, or one of my favorites is nutritional yeast. So I'm going to put a little sprinkle of nutritional yeast on that. Be creative with this. Have some fun with your popcorn. The popcorn is fun, right? Or maybe we want to throw some Old Bay seasoning on this. Might put a little bit of that on there. And I can also do some garlic, some powdered garlic, or this is a little mixture of onions and parsley and a little bit of salt in here. This is mixed by this local grocery store that I go to. But just whatever your liking is, and then mix that all up and give it a taste. That's just wonderful. The smokiness from the Old Bay, a little bit of heat there. I got the cheesiness of the wonderful nutritional yeast. So give it a shot. And remember, look me up and Let's Eat Great Food, let'seatgreat.com, or on Facebook at Let's Eat Great Food. And take it away, Suzanne Fellows.
Well, thank you, Mark. Your popcorn looked fantastic. We love to eat popcorn. It's a great snack that we eat a lot in our house. Another thing that we like to enjoy is a cheese wheel or cheese and crackers. A good cheese spread that is versatile is a great recipe to have on hand. And this recipe is just that. This recipe is also nut-free, which comes in very handy for making cheese and cracker sandwiches to send with your kids to school, like this one I have here. It's also great because the kids get to do it themselves, package it up themselves, and have cheese and crackers like many of their friends, but without the dairy. So this recipe today uses pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds so that it is nut-free. And The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that your nuts, or rather your seeds, are soft and ready to blend. So you can do that one of two ways. You can soak it overnight for somewhere between 8 and 12 hours is usually enough for the water to absorb by the seeds and for the seeds to then become soft. Or if you are in a little bit of a hurry or you forgot to soak your seeds, you can go ahead and boil them for about 12 to 15 minutes right on the stove. It'll soften them up nicely. And when I do that, I also reserve a little bit of that water to use in the recipe. So right here I have the pumpkin seeds and the sunflower seeds that have already been soaked. I'm going to go ahead and use just a half a recipe today because I've already made some here and I don't want to be wasteful, but I do want to show you how I make it. So right here I have a half a cup of sunflower seeds and a half a cup of pumpkin seeds already soaked, and I'm going to go ahead and add those to my blender. And then I'm going to add the water that I've already reserved from when I boiled my seeds. And so right here I already have a half a cup. I'm just going to go ahead and add about a quarter of a cup. And I have some lemon juice that I like to purchase. Most of the time I do like to use a fresh squeezed lemon, but sometimes it's just not available. And so lemon juice that's already juiced is also acceptable to use. And I'm going to also use about a quarter of a cup of the lemon juice. Just as a reminder, it's because this has already been cut in half. And the other thing that makes this recipe a little bit more unique than some of the other vegan cheese recipes that you'll find is that I use miso to create a creamy texture to the cheese. And so the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and use 1. The trick to this recipe is really having a good blender. Here I have the Vitamix blender, which is a great blender. But even with it being so great, sometimes when you're trying to puree down a seed or something that's a little bit of a hardier texture, you do need to blend it and then scrape the sides. Blend it and scrape the sides and blend it and scrape the sides. Now what gives this recipe this great cheesy flavor is nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast, it has a lot of good B vitamins. It's very healthy to use and it's delicious. And so I'm going to go ahead and use 1 tablespoon as the recipe calls for 2. And garlic. So 1 teaspoon of garlic. One of the other great reasons I like this recipe is because you can make it ahead of time and put it in the refrigerator, and you can then mold it into a little silicone container if you wanted to make it heart-shaped, maybe to place on a charcuterie board. You can make it like a log and then make a cheese log. Maybe you can coat it with some extra crushed pumpkin seeds or crushed sunflower seeds, or the other way to serve it is with some fig jam on top, which is also a really nice spread and a really good flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on. I'm going to wait a couple minutes to add my dill. Sometimes if I add it too early, it gives it a brighter green color, which is also sometimes fun for kids to have a green cheese and cracker sandwich. So what we're going to do is just gently place it on low, and you'll see it'll start to blend. I apologize for the noise that it's going to make. And you can keep turning it up. Eventually it'll blend down. And that'll just give you a good idea. And you can see it's starting to get a little bit thicker and mixing a little bit better together. Eventually you're gonna get a better consistency and it's gonna become much thicker and much more spreadable. And once you also place it in the refrigerator, it becomes very thick. So some serving suggestions is obviously just write on a cracker and enjoy just like this. You can create a cracker sandwich. This is also great served as, if you want to make it a little bit thinner, you can serve it as a dip, and you can use some vegetables, carrots, cucumbers. Another great way to enjoy it is, like I said, to mold it. And even just by using just like a glass container, you can wrap it in, you can place a piece of parchment paper inside of it, put it in there. You can take the wheel right out with the parchment paper and put it right on top of a plate and peel the parchment back, and it'll be a much more stiff, round cheese wheel. So this is a great, healthy, delicious cheese replacement. It's also great to be used as a spread on sandwiches. The really nice thing about this recipe is that it contains magnesium, which is really healthy for your bones. It's also, it contains healthy fats, polyunsaturated fatty acids, which also act as an antioxidant. It helps reduce and lower your LDL cholesterol. So this is a great all-around recipe. I hope you will enjoy it. You can add spice to it. You can add a fruit topping such as jam and make it a little bit less savory and a little bit more of a sweet cheese. So I hope you will enjoy it. Try it with your kids. Create delicious cheese sandwiches for them to take along with them to school, especially where nuts are not allowed, as this cheese replacement is made with seeds. So I hope you will enjoy it. Next, we're going to have Nancy show us how she makes her homemade tortilla chips and her hummus. Enjoy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Suzanne. Your cheese and crackers look absolutely delicious. Yes, I'm Nancy Manifold, and I'm filming this in England, the United Kingdom, where I live. And today I'm going to show you how to make oil-free hummus and homemade tortilla chips. Now, I always think that snack time is not the riskiest time, but I think it's the time when people are most likely to grab whatever's easy and perhaps not as nutritious as it could be. It's often late afternoon, you're hungry, and you just see what you have lying around the house and you eat that. So I think one of the keys to a good snack is something that's very quick and easy to make and can also be stored in the fridge, so that you can just grab it out of the fridge next time rather than potato chips or something like that. So this hummus it's a very good hummus, and it is very quick. And I used tinned chickpeas. So I've got my chickpeas here, or garbanzo beans. In the UK they're called chickpeas. And just drain them. Now here, so the key to draining them is to make sure that you keep the liquid from the tin. So don't put it down the sink, which is a very easy mistake to make. There we go. So chickpeas are a legume, and as with most legumes, they are a very good source of complex carbohydrates, meaning that the sugars in them are digested and absorbed very slowly, which gives a nice steady feeling of being full for several hours. It also is a very good source of protein, which helps with that, and a good source of fiber. So they fill you up and keep you feeling full for longer. Chickpeas, in fact, were first found, so I'm putting this in the food processor. Chickpeas were first found in south of France in an archaeological dig about 9,000 years ago. So they've been around a long time. Now you may have noticed I didn't rinse my chickpeas. In the UK, legumes are not stored in salt water. So there's no salt in this. If you're watching this from the United States, you might want to rinse your chickpeas once you've drained them to get rid of the salt. Okay, so that's the chickpeas. And the next thing I'm going to add is the aquafaba, which is the liquid from the tinned chickpeas, and I'm putting in half a cup. I'm putting in a little bit less than that because the chickpea tin is only 400 grams, which is a bit less than the 15 ounces stated in the recipe. Okay, so that gives the liquid rather than the oil. As I said, this is a no oil recipe, so it doesn't have those extra unnecessary calories from the oil. And I've got 3 cloves of garlic here, which I've just roughly chopped. Oh, that one's still alive. Which I've roughly chopped, so I'm going to put that in. They don't need to be fully minced because the food processor will do that for you. And then 1 lemon, the juice of 1 lemon. Now, one of the things about chickpeas and the tahini I'm about to add is that they're a very good source of iron. Being legumes and seeds, they are a very good source of iron, and the vitamin C in the lemons helps the body to absorb that iron. So this is going in. This is a new juicer and I just love it. It's my favorite little gadget. Makes life so easy. There we go. So that's the juice of 1 lemon. And here I have the tahini, which I mentioned earlier. So tahini is roasted sesame seeds, which have then been ground into a sort of a butter consistency. Again, very healthy, high in fat, but natural fat, not extracted oils. And it's a very good source of protein and iron and fiber. Okay, and I'm putting that in. So that's 3 tablespoons of tahini. There we go. As you can see, this is a very quick and easy recipe. So what I have now is ground cumin and paprika. Paprika is a mild pepper, the dried ground down mild pepper. And so it gives a little bit of a kick. So you can decide how much you want to put in. And I'm putting in 1/4 teaspoon of each of these. Seasoning is entirely up to you. I love cumin, but it is a strong flavor. So if you don't want it too strong, then you can adjust it as you like. So that's the cumin. That's 1/4 teaspoon of cumin. And likewise, 1/4 teaspoon of the paprika. Okay. And then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So putting that in. There we go. And all I do with this now, so it's very quick. And all I do now is blend it. So if you want it, so this is the consistency of the hummus. Okay, so it's not liquid, it's fairly firm. And if you want it more liquid, you can add more of the aquafaba. If you want it a bit firmer, you just add a bit less of the aquafaba. So there you go. So that's the hummus, made quick and easy, high in fiber, very healthy snack. Now for the tortilla chips, it's very easy to buy store-bought tortilla chips, which tend to be higher in fat. So one thing that you can do is make your own tortilla chips. Now, if you're very hungry and you don't have time for this, then fine. You can just tear up your tortilla. You don't have to bake it. But I'm just showing you something that's just a very tasty snack if you have the time to make it yourself. So you take 1 tortilla, well, as many tortillas as you like, but I've got one here, and I've juiced this lime. And that's already juiced. And all you do is take the juice of the lime and a brush and brush it. And you can do as many tortillas as you like. And then you put it in the oven for about 10 minutes. Keep an eye on it in the last couple of minutes. Put it in the oven for about 10 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And what you end up with is this. There we go. Can you see that? So that's my hummus and my tortilla chips, which I have cut these with a pizza slicer. and really nice low-fat tortilla chips. So there you go, and the hummus. Okay. So quick, easy, high fiber, nutritious snack, and it tastes delicious. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I am going to hand you over now to Shobha, and I'm looking forward to seeing how she makes her cauliflower bhaji. Thank you very much.
Hello, welcome to Too Many Cooks in the Kitchen from PCRM Cooks all across the globe. I am Shobha Swami in Atlanta, Georgia, and today I'm going to showcase to you cauliflower bhajiyas. So these are similar to cauliflower buffalo wings that you've tasted in many of the restaurants around the world. And today I'm going to show you this cauliflower bhajia. Bhajiyas are deep fried, typically made deep fried in oil, and they're made out of different vegetables, from onions to potatoes to cauliflower to perhaps we could use broccoli as well, and many other Indian vegetables, eggplant even. We use many other vegetables to deep fry these. But today you're going to have a heart-healthy, plant-based cauliflower bhajiyas, which you can turn into cauliflower chicken wings or buffalo wings as well. All you have to do is coat it in a sauce. So cauliflower lends an excellent taste. It doesn't have to be par cooked or anything. It cooks really fast in the oven, and it's, you know, it has an amazing texture to the whole thing. So today we're going to showcase how to make these with chickpea flour. So chickpea flour is also called garbanzo bean flour, is high in proteins, and it's available. I'm sure it's available in a lot of the American grocery stores, but it's definitely available in the Indian grocery stores because we've been using this chickpea flour to make batter for as long as I can remember, and I'm sure for generations. So the spices that we're going to use today are very simple. Will be easily available for you. You can use either red chili powder or cayenne pepper powder or any other, spice powder that you have. And then I use a little bit of salt, like half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of red chili powder. And then this is one thing that's probably hard for you to find at the American grocery stores. They're called Carom Seeds. Just a brief description about Carom Seeds. They are small seeds, much smaller than cumin seeds that you may have seen, but they have a strong flavor, almost like an anise licorice flavor, and they are used in conjunction with this garbanzo flour or chickpea flour, or also called besan in Hindi. They're used in combination with this to help aid in digestion. These carom seeds are used even for babies to make what is called gripe water. You may have heard of this when babies have colic or they're uncomfortable because of their GI system. We make a water out of this. We boil this and then take a little bit of that water, and by teaspoons we feed babies. So it's good for adults as well. It's an herb that is promotes health and is used in conjunction with besan or chickpea flour. So we'll be using about half a teaspoon of that. So and adjust the spices to your liking. If you like garlic powder or onion powder, you can add that as well. It's just left to your imagination, as well as what your family favorites are. So with that being said, let's get started. I have half a cup of chickpea flour here and about a small medium or to medium sized cauliflower cut up into florets about this size. So let's begin. Half a cup of chickpea flour added to this bowl, and then I have half a teaspoon of red chili powder that I'm going to add, half a teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt that's iodized, and then half a teaspoon of carom seeds, just seeds as they are. typically what we do is we take it in our hands and then we just gently crush it. You can do that to bring out the flavors and to bring out the excellent flavor that these impart. So with that, that completes our spices, and we're going to make a paste of this. The paste should resemble thickish pancake batter. So for half a cup of chickpea flour, I'll be using half of that. So 1/4 cup of water. And then after that, if you need any water, you will be adding 1 tablespoon at a time, because we don't want to add too much and make it too runny. So this makes it quite thick. And I'll show you the consistency in just a minute. Here's how the batter should be. It gets thick with the 1/4 cup. Maybe it'll need a couple more tablespoons of water. You want it to be almost thickish like pancake batter. There you go. So this is the consistency you want it to be. And then we'll be adding all our cauliflower florets all together. And coating it ever so gently. If you keep moving it, they will slowly coat everything with this batter. Sometimes it dries out a bit too much. You can always add. Remember to add water only by the tablespoons. Yep, it's coating it nicely. Keep moving it along and it'll coat all the cauliflower florets really nicely. So this is how it coats it really nicely. And sometimes you may need a tablespoon or more of chickpea flour. You can also make this chickpea flour combo and keep it ready. Just so you don't have to mix the spices and think about it. You can, in a jar, you can mix the chickpea flour, chili pepper powder. If you don't like it too spicy, you can skip it. And so it coats it really nicely like this. And so all we have to do is arrange it on a mat neatly and then bake it at 400 for 15 minutes. There you go. All of it is neatly arranged on a baking sheet. And we make this almost every week at home. It's our family favorite. It can be used as a snack. It can be used to make even like cauliflower tacos. They add a very good flavor for taco. You can add a little bit of taco seasoning as you make cauliflower tacos and things like that. So you can take some of this and, you know, spread it evenly on some of the cauliflower pieces that don't have much of it. So they will coat nicely. Put it in the oven at 400 and for 10 to 12 minutes. Cauliflower is cooked yet crunchy and it's got a very good flavor. And for cauliflower buffalo wings, you'll make it the same way. You can skip the carom seeds perhaps. And coat it with some kind of a spicy sauce or ketchup, sugar-free ketchup if you can get your hands on it, and then bake it again for 5-10 minutes to seal all the flavors. So this is an easy one. Make it every week. Enjoy, and we'll show you the finished product in just a bit when we put it in the oven and bring it out. So it coats and makes it really look exactly like this. Now we'll put it in an oven at 400 for 10 minutes. And let's see how it turns out. Turns out crispy and nice at 400 for 10 minutes. Our cauliflower bhajiyas are ready. Let's do a taste test and figure out how it's come out. Each cauliflower is coated really well, and it's crispy as well. Amazingly flavorful. Slightly crunchy, the cauliflower is, and it's amazing. I'm sure kids will like it and adults will too. You can dip it in ketchup or dip it in any other kind of dipping sauce that you make at home. This is an amazing snack called cauliflower bhajiyas. Try it, make it often. We make it at least 2 times a week at our home. You can make cauliflower tacos with it. You can do a host of other dishes that are left to your imagination. So thank you very much. I'm signing off from here in Shobha from Atlanta, and on to the next So Many Cooks in the Kitchen.
All right, thank you so much. That looks so great. My name is Susanna Dickman, and I'm from Evansville, Indiana. And today I'm going to make you a real easy snack that is perfect for any time of the year. And these are green chili pistachio date balls. I was inspired to make these when we were visiting my in-laws. They lived in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And in the Alamogordo area, there are 2 pistachio farms. And if you ever go visit, you need to go and see the world's biggest pistachio at one of them. But we loaded up on some green chili pistachios, plain and red chili pistachios. When we got home, I wanted to make a quick and easy dessert for my husband, who loves both green chili and cocoa and pistachios. So I came up with this recipe, and it's really easy, but the combination of the heat and the cocoa and the sweetness from the dates is so good. The reason that I use dates to make this dish is because dates are so good for you. Whoops, there goes the top of my, that's okay, it can stay there. But dates are so good for you. They're high in antioxidants, as is pistachios, which I didn't know that. But pistachios are high in antioxidants. They actually have lutein, which is good for your eyes. They're high in fiber. Dates too, 7 grams of fiber. Dates do not raise your blood sugar, so they're more of a natural sweetener. So I really prefer to use dates and date sugar in a lot of my sweetening. First thing I'm going to do is add my cocoa powder, and this is about 1/4 cup and 2 tablespoons. We like to have it a little bit more cocoa-y. Then I've got my green chili pistachios, and I don't know if you can see them. So the meat on most pistachios is white. These are a little pale green because they've been, I don't know if they soak them. I don't exactly know how they processed them with the green chili, but they can be rather hot. So you need to be careful. Then I did chop my dates, and I would recommend, I keep my dates in the refrigerator just to keep them fresher longer. I would recommend, these have been sitting out for about an hour because you want them to soften up. Otherwise they are, it'll still work, but you're going to have to process it a little bit longer than you want to. And then I'm just going to add a teaspoon of vanilla. And that's it, no other liquid. Now I am going to let this process for maybe a couple of minutes, so it's going to be a little bit loud. But you're going to see, we want to process it long enough so that the oils from the pistachios start to, come out as they break down, and also so that the dates get soft and sticky. That's why dates are perfect to use for things like this, because they get sticky and they're going to be what holds them together. I'm going to show you. Here are some that I made earlier. I like serving them with the little fruit because, you got the hot, and sometimes they are hot. Let me go ahead and process this, and you'll see how it looks as it's going. Pulse it a little bit, and then I'm just going to let it go. Okay, I'm going to stop it because I see a couple of pistachios got stuck up there. There's another one there. Let me get him out. There he goes. You can see it's still a bit dry, so we want to do it a little bit longer. All right, let's see. So it's getting, you can see, it's still a bit crumbly. So I'm gonna do it for just a minute more. And then I will show you, you can see the difference in how it starts. It's starting to stick, but we want to release it just a little bit more. I'm going to stop it there. If you wanted to, you can even let it go a little bit longer. Another thing that I found, I will go ahead and process it, and then I'll go and do something else for 20 or so minutes, and then come back and it will be even stickier. But if you see now, and I'm just going to take out a little bit, how easy it is for me to form. And I hope you can see the green specks of the pistachios, because I know I don't like to pulverize them completely. I like to have a little bit of their crunch in them when I make them. But you see how easy it just, it just mixes up. And as I said before, these are a snack that you can have guilt-free. With the pistachios, you're getting antioxidants, you're getting lutein for your eyes, you're getting fiber, and with the dates too. It doesn't take that much to form them. They're really, it's all the oils have released, the dates have warmed up, and it's real easy to shape them into little balls. These also freeze well. Actually, my husband likes to keep them. He doesn't like to eat them all at once, so to preserve them, he'll put them in the freezer and take out one a day, sometimes 2, sometimes 3 a day, but never more than that, because they are just that good, and they're enough to satisfy your sweet tooth. And again, having some fruit. If you don't have green chili pistachios, and I don't work for the company, I don't get anything, but I did put the link on Heart of the Desert. It's a great place if you are interested. I also included a recipe where I used regular pistachios and then I added some red chili pepper flakes in it to give it that heat. I used to have some green chili pepper to spice, and you could also add that. You might, play around with these. You might add some mint extract, peppermint extract, other things. Just, you could roll them in coconut if you want, a little powdered sugar. The combinations are endless, but we just like these simple with the 4 ingredients. So I hope you can get some green chili pistachios and enjoy these. They just, as I said, they're one of my family's favorites. And it's nice to have a snack. I feel good knowing that the food I make for myself and my family, has ingredients, has antioxidants and fiber that are going to help improve our health. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next up is Angelita. It's all yours.
Hi, my name is Angelita Alvarez Hughes. I am in Greenville, South Carolina. I am one of the presenters here on So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. I also have my own health and nutrition company, and that is Earth, Seeds, and Water. And I'm in Greenville, South Carolina, and you can find me at www.earthseedsandwater.com. All my contact information is there. Today we are going to be making a 1-minute mug cake. And so the recipe is online, and you feel free to exchange any of the fruits. If you don't want to use dried fruits and you want to use like frozen blueberries or raspberries or what have you, I strongly suggest that you toss those in a little bit of flour so they won't sink to the bottom of your cake. But if that's the effect you're looking for, then by all means go ahead and do that. So today we are making a coconut white chocolate chip cake. And here are the ingredients. It's very, very easy. We have 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. You can also use brown rice flour with this, whole wheat flour. And then you can also use oat flour with this. Gluten-free flour, I have not tried that, but I'm pretty sure it would work as well. I do know that if you add a little bit of xanthan gum to it, it helps it rise better. So we're adding in the sugar and the baking soda and the baking powder. As you can see, I'm adding all my dry ingredients in here first. And I'm using vanilla powder, but feel free to use vanilla extract. You would just use the amount that's on the recipe. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to mix this to make sure we incorporate all these dry ingredients before we start adding our wet ingredients. And I'm using oat milk for my plant-based milk, but if you like soy milk, go ahead and use that, or if you make your own, that would be great as well. Look at the fat content on that to try to keep the fat content lower on this. So we're going to add that into it and stir. And now we're going to add, one note on the plant-based milk, make sure that it is unsweetened. And it doesn't have like a vanilla flavor to it. I mean, if it does, then I would probably omit the vanilla extract in this application. And now I'm going to add the unsweetened applesauce, and I'm going to add the balsamic vinegar. And what happens is the balsamic vinegar reacts with the baking soda, and it allows your cake to rise when baking. All right, so we've got all this added in here, and now we just need to add the chocolate chips. I usually just buy a huge bag of vegan chocolate chips, and I just store it in these very handy glass containers, and I just keep it in a dark area in my pantry. So we're just going to add the white chocolate chips to that. You can feel free to replace these with any vegan chocolate chips of your choice. If you don't want chocolate chips in there, you don't have to put that in there. You can add hemp hearts in there. You can also add some ground flaxseed in here as well to give you some extra fiber. So then I'm putting it into this little cup right here, this little ramekin, and I lightly sprayed the inside and then I wiped it down with a paper towel just to make sure that nothing gets stuck to the side. And you can eat it directly out of the ramekin, or you can let it cool down completely and then just remove it from the ramekin. So this is what you end up with. I don't know if you can see it, but we're right about here. And depending on your microwave, you would put this anywhere from 45 seconds to 1 minute, and that's it. If you like a gooey center, then I would probably do about 45 seconds on there. But if you like a little bit spongier, then I would do it just a little bit longer. Excuse me while I put this in the microwave. So I have one here that I already made. And with this one, I use the maple syrup instead of the sugar. And then I just take a slotted spatula and let's see if it comes out. And there we go. It's ready to go. Now you can add like a peanut butter glaze to this. You can also add some toasted coconut to this. Maybe just a little bit of maple syrup. You know, just use your imagination. Whatever makes you happy. Maybe some shredded carrots on here as well would be wonderful with that. Just toss those with a tiny bit of maple syrup just to give them a little bit of sweetness and enjoy it that way. Again, remember, this is a snack, so we try to make it, I try to make something that's as healthy as possible for you guys to enjoy, just a small snack. But there's still a lot of good things in here. So you can use pineapple as well. I mean, you can make like a little pineapple upside down cake. Just use little pineapple pieces, put them down at the bottom first, and then add your cake to it. And then just bake well, sounds weird, bake in your microwave. But anyway, thank you so much for spending Saturday with us. Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you guys have a wonderful year, and I wish you much happiness and wonderful health.
Hi, welcome to Montgomery, Alabama. I think Angelita's dish looked great. I'm not sure what just happened to her there at the end, but she disappeared. So welcome to Montgomery. Happy 2020. 2020. I'm living in the past. Welcome to 2022, Montgomery, Alabama. Today I'm making kale chips, and I'm really excited about this recipe because it's one of our favorites at our house. And I'm starting with a bunch of kale, but the reason I came up with this recipe or decided to make this recipe today is because on our last show, somebody asked during the Q&A if any of us ever used a dehydrator. And I thought, oh, I have a fabulous recipe using my dehydrator. You can also make this recipe in your oven. You don't have to have a dehydrator. But if you have one, this is a great way to use it. It's a little messy, but it's totally worth it. So I'm starting with one whole bunch of kale, and the kind I'm using is red Russian kale. And we know kale is a superfood. Kale is wonderful for us. Lots and lots of vitamins, nutrients, fiber, of course, the super important thing we need in our food, fiber. And you could also use lacinato. So it's going to make a more delicate kale chip than the red Russian. So red Russian is a little tougher. You could use green curly kale, really any kind of kale you want. Actually, we've used other greens in it too, just to see what would happen. So like collards, and they were a little bit delicate and kind of fell apart. So kale really is the way to go with these chips. But these are super healthy chips. They're nice and crunchy and crispy. Beat potato chips, hands down, any day. So what we're doing is tearing it into relatively large pieces, because if you've ever dehydrated anything, you know that it's going to shrink. And so if you have a tiny little piece of kale, it will just disappear into nothing. But so we're taking relatively large pieces of the kale. like that, and even larger. So let me pull all these off of here. All right, so we could put even big pieces like this, and that's perfectly fine because it will shrink down. So let me get the other one torn up here. And I already have an entire bunch of kale already washed and cut up into really large pieces. Once you wash it, and you do want to wash it, but after that, really dry it well, because the sauce that we're making will stick to it much better. If it's really wet, then the sauce isn't going to stick to the kale quite as well. The way I dry it is in one of those salad spinners, and I spin it, and then I actually put it out on kitchen towels and let it dry. You could, pat it dry with kitchen towels or paper towels, but you want a nice big bowl. This is a huge bowl of kale pieces. And then we're going to make the sauce that we're going to toss onto the kale leaves. So we're starting with 1 red bell pepper that's already cut up and seeded. And we have 1 cup of cashews that I have already boiled for about 10 minutes. You could also soak them overnight or pour hot water over them and soak them for a few hours. If you have a high-powered blender like a Vitamix or a Blendtec, that step isn't totally necessary, but I do think it's good for getting your cashews to get really plump and full of liquid. So we'll add those. That was 1 cup that got really plump, so it's probably more like 1.5 cups at this point. And then we have a couple of tablespoons of nutritional yeast, and I'm using this kind, Anthony's nutritional yeast flakes, which I buy really big bags of nutritional yeast because I use a lot of it. And then we have the juice of probably two lemons. So it's 3 to 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. And we have a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, because turmeric's super good for us, and it's going to give the kale chips a really nice color. And we have 1 tablespoon of agave. You could also try maple syrup. If you want to, you could try a couple of dates with the pits removed and make sure they're nice and soft. If you have really hard, dry dates, you could soak them first in some warm water to plump them up a bit. And we have a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder and just a 1/4 to a 1/2 teaspoon of iodized sea salt. If you were on a low sodium diet, just leave it out. It's fine. And then we're going to whirl that all up. All right, that's probably good enough. All right. Yes. Okay, so you just want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. Here comes the fun part. Okay, so this is really messy, so I'm going to use gloves. You don't have to use gloves. If you're making it for yourself, for your family at home, you don't have to, but it does get super messy. And it almost becomes a 2-person job at this point. So this would be really fun to do with your kids once you make the sauce to pour over the kale chips, because they can get their hands right in it and get really messy. So it's a lot of fun. Okay, so we're pouring the sauce over the top. You want to get every last bit out of there. There we go. Okay, so get all that good sauce onto the kale. I'm going to put gloves on because this is really messy. So I'm going to get my gloves on. And we want to make sure that every piece of the kale is really well coated with this sauce. Ooh, here we go. Okay. You could use a couple of, spatulas or something to do this, but it's going to work a lot better if you actually just get your hands in it and really get the sauce on every piece of kale. And then once all of the kale is very well coated, So here's a piece, nice big piece like this. Okay, and it's coated on both sides with the sauce. And then I'm using my dehydrator. So I have dehydrator trays. I'm actually using a dehydrator that's probably 30 years old. It's a American Harvest dehydrator that I've had for probably more than 30 years. So we'll lay the pieces out on the dehydrator tray. And you want to really go ahead and fill up the whole tray, but make sure that the pieces aren't touching each other, because we want them to get really dried all the way through. Okay, so I get my trays really, really full. And the funny thing is, they don't look so full in the morning afterward. The pieces just shrink down so much. Okay, so once you've got a whole tray filled, and just make sure when your kale sometimes will fold over on itself. And so you want to open the leaves up and make sure they're laying flat. They aren't touching each other and they're opened up flat, so they're not folded up. And you will end up with many, many trays filled with kale chips. Okay, so, and I'm going to show you, take these off. This is why I wore gloves, so I can show you. This is my dehydrator, and this was stacked up with that one more tray. But before I got up this morning, my husband actually ate all the kale chips off that tray, which is why I have an available tray. So I will show you. He must have eaten them at 6 o'clock this morning. Okay, so after they're dried, they've shrunk up quite a bit, but they're super, super crispy. You could do this in the oven as well. So every one of these little levels is just filled with kale chips now. And so you could get a big bowl and just flip the tray over into the bowl. One of the things that we do is take a toothbrush that we got from the dentist's office that was never used in anybody's mouth, brand new toothbrush, and just flip it over onto a bowl and gently brush the leaves off from the other side. But because sometimes they stick. But this is one nice big bowl of kale chips, and they are very crunchy, very, very good. I'm honestly just amazed that I still have any left, because my husband is a kale chip fiend, and he's standing here right now wanting to eat all of these. So I'm going to hand them to him. So, but I'll make more. So you can do this in the oven. So what you would do is take some baking sheets. You're going to do this exact same thing. Make the same sauce. Toss it on the kale chips just like that. Nice big pieces, because they will shrink down. And then put it in the oven, no more than 300 degrees. You could go with 275. If you're going at about 300 degrees, really watch, because they will go quickly. When we do this in the dehydrator, I do it overnight. So I made these last night and then woke up this morning and they were ready. So except for the whole tray that my husband ate in the middle of the night at some point, apparently, maybe 6 o'clock this morning. But it works overnight. And so that's the really cool part about making it in a dehydrator, is once you've gotten it going in there, it's hands-free. It's going to just dehydrate all night. If you do it in the oven, really watch, because you're going to have to be a little more hands-on with it and watching to make sure that it doesn't burn or doesn't get overly dried out. You could do it at 275 and go a little bit longer, maybe 30 minutes. If you're doing it at 300 degrees, go for about 20 minutes, but really check and make sure they're not burning or getting overly done. So the dehydrator, if you're doing it in the dehydrator, you're going to do it at about 118 degrees. And my dehydrator says fruits, vegetables. It has different settings, but I actually just look at the thermometer on it and I put it at 118 degrees. And it comes out perfect every single time, just overnight. I don't know. There's not really an hour amount of time. It probably could have gone for an extra hour or two and been fine, because dehydrating is a very slow, gentle process. So I don't think we've ever actually overdone them by having them just go all night long. So I hope that answers all the questions about it, but we do have a Q&A coming up in just a minute. Later this week, I will be on Thursday on Chef AJ's show making my New Year's soup which is a black-eyed pea and collard green soup. So tune in to Chef AJ's show Thursday if you get a chance. And now I'm going to turn you over to Karen, who is making something I'm very excited about. So hi, Karen. Good to see you.
Hey, Carolyn, that looks great. I love kale chips, and I'm with your husband. They never make it into a bowl down here. I just like eat them, checking, see if they're done. Oh, a little longer.
Right, exactly. Exactly. We eat them right off the trays most of the time. They're so good. It's hard to stop. There's no reason to stop. They're good for you.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we're going to finish up with a really quick, easy dessert snack that it's really, like we were talking about it after the last show, and it's something that I do in the dehydrator. And there, but I realize everyone doesn't have a dehydrator, so I tried to figure out the perfect temperature to do it in the oven. My oven goes down to 170, but a lot of ovens don't. I used 175, and that seemed to be good. There's a lot of different ways to do it. You can bake it at a higher temperature for a smaller amount of time, but to me that just tastes like baked bananas or something. So it tastes better the lower you can go. So when I was doing it at 175, and I'll show you what I did, but 175 I baked banana slices for 2 hours, and then let them sit for about 15 minutes, and then flipped them over. And I'll show you what. All right, I'm just going to lower my screen so you can see. Sorry, I'm flipping back and forth. It's just simple ingredients. You have bananas, we have dates, we have cinnamon. That is, and water. That's all that's necessary. I add a little bit of vanilla, makes it yummy, and you can just add a pinch of salt. If you're not using salt, it just works fine without. And what you get, so I put the dates and the water in the blender and blend it smooth. Now, I was going to do that, but I have some left over from the ones I made in advance, because you're not going to watch these cook for 2 hours and then 2 more hours and then 1 more hour. So I'll see if this is enough. But all right, the hardest part about this, you want bananas that are really ripe but still firm, not mushy. And the ones that I ordered were really, really small, so we have little small banana slices. So I went to the store and picked my own, but they're a good size, but they didn't get ripe enough by today. So we used the ripe ones. And I'm just going to show you a trick for slicing them. Slicing them is the hardest part. So if you just take a little bit of the peel off in the front of your banana, and leave the peel on, so it makes it easier to stay together and slice. And it's easiest to slice them into thirds. You might be able to do it into fourths depending on the size of your banana, but you just want to slice, like I'm going to take this tiny one and slice it into thirds. So I'm just gonna go down one side and go down the other side. And that was the hardest thing about this recipe. All right, so then you can just remove the peel and put your bananas on a parchment-lined cookie sheet. So, gotta rinse my hands just a second. Okay, so we're making cinnamon rolls without flour, no refined flour. All right, so I would put these bananas in the oven at 175 for a couple of hours, and then take them out. They're gonna look kind of like this. I'll take them out, let them sit for about 10 or 15 minutes. If you don't let them sit, they break real easy. So I would let them sit and then come under with an offset spatula. I've obviously done them in advance. So they're going to stick to that paper a little bit. So you can slide the spatula or a fork underneath and then just flip them over. And then we're going to put them back in the oven for another couple of hours. So this is not hard. It's just a little bit time consuming. And you want to use, I use 2 baking sheets and make a whole lot at once. Okay, so after you take them out, after your second 2 hours, you're going to take some of that date paste that you made and just spread it on the bananas. And you can be really generous with it. I'm being a little bit stingy because I don't have very much left here. Go back. Take every bit. Seems like it's going to work. And I want to do all of these because I want to show you something. So in the recipe, I used four bananas, so it makes a dozen small cinnamon rolls. But I'm going to show you how to make a bigger cinnamon roll if you choose. And you can use as many bananas as you want. So once you have all of that date paste on there, you're just going to sprinkle it with cinnamon. And then if you want to, I mean, they're plenty sweet like this. But if you wanted to, you could sprinkle a little bit of raisins in there, especially if you have bigger slices of banana. And then all you do is, and these have been done, they're like, if you do it right out of the oven, they're really easier to roll, but you're just going to roll up your banana slice and put it back on the cookie sheet. And so if I have nice big bananas, it makes a really nice bite-sized snack rolls. If you want a larger roll, let's see, we're just going to roll one and then put it on top of another one and continue to roll it. And you have a bigger roll, and if you want an even bigger roll, you can put it on top of another one. And keep rolling. And really, if you take them right out of the oven and do that, they hold together better. So you can have a really large one. And then you're going to put it back in the oven for 1 or 2 hours. You just have to watch them. And I have some in the oven. Already prepared. Okay, so there's my big one with the 3 little bananas, my 2 bananas, and these tiny little bite-sized snacks with 1 banana slice each. So you can eat them right out of the oven. They're really good. Or you can put them in the refrigerator and save them for later. But enjoy and Happy New Year. And thank you for watching us today. And we're going to go to Q&A now. So I'm going to hand it back over to Dilip.
All right, great. That looked really good, Karen. Let me bring everybody else into the studio. There's Mark. Oops. There's Mark. Hello, Mark. Hello. And there's Carolyn. There's Cody. And there's Susanna. So let me just turn our names on so we can see each other. Hang on a second. All right. So Happy New Year, everybody. It was a great show.
New Year.
One reason I love doing these shows is I learned so much from each of you. It was my daughter was looking over the recipes and she said, "Daddy, we need to make all of these recipes." And I said, "Absolutely." And this was a especially special one because I got to visit Cody and Nora and Nora's dad and Nora's sisters, and so I learned a lot from them too, which was really great. So we're going to we're doing something special today. It's the first of the year. We have 2 giveaways, and Karen is very kind. She's going to help fulfill the giveaways. So I'm going to ask you, Karen, to take some notes as questions come in from this point on. Write the names down, and there is a question. There's a comment from Pat Murphy and Linda Pittman. So let's write their names down. So everybody who asks a question will be eligible for our giveaway. We have. There's a company called Vegan Essentials, and a lot of people say we want to buy more. By the way, it's easy to be vegan. You can go to almost any store and get fabulous ingredients. You don't have to go to specialized stores. But you might see that a special ingredient that we used and you can't readily find it. So Vegan Essentials is a very nice online vegan store. And we have a $25 gift certificate for you. We also have sumac. So sumac is a spice that I recently learned. It's a Turkish spice. And Cody and I use that. Cody is really smart, and she said, but Dilla, maybe people don't have sumac. So she came up with an alternative, which was the sage. But suppose you want to use sumac and you can't find it in your store. So we're giving away some organic sumac. Those are the 2 prizes today. All right, so let's, I also have a couple questions. Let's start with Pat Murphy's question. What kind of cinnamon is the true cinnamon? There are several kinds. I know a little bit about this. In my kitchen, I usually have 3 kinds of cinnamon. So traditionally, the traditional cinnamon is called Ceylon cinnamon, and it's not a good name because Ceylon is a colonial name. The actual name is Sri Lanka, but cinnamon comes from this island country south of India. It's a very interesting country. I've never been there. It looks beautiful, and it's basically the bark of the cinnamon tree, and it has. I'll let somebody else pick up on the medicinal properties because I don't remember them all at the moment, but I know they have some good medicinal properties. And the Ceylon cinnamon is one of the richest in it. But I also use Kerinchi cinnamon, which is probably the most common in this country. I also use Vietnamese cinnamon, and I recommend you try different ones. They definitely taste different. They have different flavor profiles. Let me turn it over to Karen because Karen is really our true ingredient expert. I'm sure you can speak volumes about cinnamon, Karen.
The cinnamon, it's actually good for lowering blood, it's good for balancing blood sugar.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that Ceylon cinnamon is supposed to be the best cinnamon, but I prefer the Vietnamese cinnamon. I just love the flavor. I like it's just strong and sweet.
You know, I'm with Karen, and that's really the key nutritional benefit of cinnamon. Cinnamon tastes sweet, but it actually reduces the glycemic load of food going into your bloodstream. So it releases the sugars of your blood into your blood, starches and so forth, slower by having cinnamon. So it's a special treat because it tastes great, it tastes sweet, but it actually reduces the how quickly sugar gets into your blood system. And I'm with you, Karen. I actually prefer the Vietnamese. I think it has a slightly better flavor.
It's what we grew up thinking as cinnamon.
I have James has this question about certain spices. We had a whole show, and I posted the link earlier about so many seasonings. So James is asking about garlic versus garlic powder. I use both. I think that they have different flavor profiles when you dehydrate. I was going to ask Karen about this a little later about bananas. When you dehydrate, it actually changes the flavor and often enriches the flavor. The interesting question about garlic that I wanted to answer is that there's 2 kinds of dried garlic I find. There's garlic granules and garlic powder. And those of you who've had a little bit of chemistry know that the smaller you cut something, the more surface area to volume ratio you have, and it generally has more flavor. And one thing I can't understand, maybe one of you guys can, or somebody in the audience, is garlic granules are bigger, but they have more flavor. And I prefer the garlic granules to the garlic powder. And I don't know why. Maybe somebody knows why. And Laura is asking, when would you use granules over powders? So mix and match. When I cook, I love garlic. I put fresh garlic in. I'll put it in the Instant Pot, the pressure cooker. It roasts it, makes it a more kind of caramelized flavor, and then you add the powder, and it tastes different from garlic. Cody, I know you like garlic quite a bit. Can you spend a moment talking about the nutritional benefits of garlic and what your preference is with garlic and dried garlic?
Well, I love garlic. of course, as you know, and I talk about a lot with my cooking, I prefer fresh garlic. There's nothing like a freshly minced garlic and about anything that's savory. It works really good. Even my kids, they love it, right, Nora? You like garlic?
Not me, darling.
Not plain. You like it in things though?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she said not plain garlic, which I understand. Most kids probably just don't want to eat plain garlic, but she likes it cooked in things. So we use a variety of it.
I just like garlic powder.
Nora likes garlic powder, she says.
It's garlic powder. That's all.
Oh goodness. Yeah. So, but yeah, garlic's very healthy for you. I think it has some like antibacterial type properties in it for you, so it helps fight off bacteria, bad bacteria and infections. So it's pretty amazing. So, but
Garlic is wonderful to include. You know what's interesting about garlic is some people from India, my parents are from India, don't use onions or garlic, and some people, Jains for example, and Mark can probably speak to this. Jains, most Jains are in India, are so compassionate they don't believe in killing a plant. So they'll eat tomatoes, they'll eat okra, they'll eat corn, but when you eat garlic or onion, you have to kill the plant. And so there is a tradition, largely in India, of not eating such food. So my mom never ate garlic, as far as I know. She didn't eat garlic, and she didn't eat onions either. And so she used a spice called hing or asafoetida powder. So here's an interesting comment. Terry Preston, I really enjoyed seeing everyone's kitchens from around the world as well as different gadgets. I sure loved being Cody in your kitchen. That was really special. And then James has a comment. I tend to like garlic powder over onion powder. Me too. Onion powder doesn't have much flavor, and it gets very, humidity jams it up. Have had to substitute garlic powder for a whole onion when I don't have it or it's rotten. Mark, I wanted you to spend a few minutes talking about popcorn. Popcorn is a very nice food, and you are in the Midwest. Cody used to shuck corn, I know that. You're in the Midwest too. And maybe you want to add to Mark's comments, but sometimes when people have popcorn, it's kind of looks the same as those yellow kernels. When I buy popcorn, I buy the multicolored organic popcorn. Could you take a moment and tell us, when we eat popcorn, what are some of the choices we have in the marketplace? What are the differences in terms of the kernel size and the flavor profiles of different popcorns?
Yeah, so, well, I tend to, first of all, I've tried lots of different popcorns, and sometimes I like, the most common one is, and the least expensive one is the yellow kernel popcorn, which, you're going to find at like amusement parks and in movie theaters and things like that. It's cheap. It's really easy to grow, and it pops pretty easily. And if you cover it with butter and salt, the cheapness doesn't really matter because all you're tasting is the butter and salt. So there's also white popcorn, which is a little bit more neutral in flavor versus like the yellow that has a little bit more nutty flavor. There's white kernels could tend to be a little bit smaller, and some people think, well, they don't get stuck in your teeth as easily. I've had really good yellow popcorn, I've had really good white popcorn, and I've had bad white and bad yellow. So it really depends on the freshness of the popcorn. Probably some of the best popcorn I ever had was a friend of mine went down to Southern Illinois to visit a friend of his that has a popcorn farm, and brought up a big 5-gallon bucket of it and was passing it out at a party. And I tell you what, that yellow popcorn was the absolute best. So if you can get popcorn that's really fresh, I go to farmers markets, especially later in the season, and you'll get some really nice fresh popcorn. So there's also red kernel popcorn. It has kind of a tender and nutty flake. And then there's blue kernel popcorn as well, which is a little bit kind of a unique flavor. I think my brain kind of, first time I had it, said, well, it was kind of bluish black. It's going to taste burnt. It really doesn't. It's a very light kernel. So I think at the end of the day, go out and try it just different, mix and match, like we were talking about garlic, and try different types of popcorn. One of my favorites that I tried that I didn't think was going to be really good at a farmer's market, I got this popcorn on a corn cob, and it was You basically just took this corn cob, put it in a bag, and put it in the microwave, and it popped up multicolors, and it was phenomenal. I didn't put anything on it; just ate it right off the corn, right off the cob, and it was because it was fresh. So I think, like with any of our foods, the fresher the better. If you have stuff sitting in your pantry for months and months, it's going to get stale. Just like all the spices are going to get stale, and so the fresher the better. And try different types, and go from there.
Let me take a moment and talk about that, and then I want to come back to garlic as well. And the question came up about non-GMO popcorn. Karen, you're writing everybody's name down who's making comments, right?
I as fast as I can see, I didn't get Laura's last name.
Laura's last name, Rochelle, Rachelle. So one thing that's really important, we had a show on spices and seasonings, is having fresh, ideally organic, non-GMO spices. Years and years and years ago, I don't know why they called me. It was kind of funny. I was interviewed about irradiated spices. It's difficult to say. And it's funny because what local news channels do is they have information pieces, and they interviewed me. They used my voice, and they had other talking heads. And so I got calls from friends across the country. Hey, we heard you on the local news talking about spices in New York and I don't know, many places. It was kind of interesting. It was my voice, but it was somebody much more handsome than me, maybe somebody like Mark or somebody else, right? Which was interesting. So it is important with spices for them to be fresh. And what my mom would do, she'd buy them in large quantities. She would freeze them. And speaking of spices, Karen, I know you know a lot about garlic. Can you tell us a little bit more about your view about garlic and kinds of garlic that would be good for people to use in the home kitchen?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, if you're making a raw dish, using garlic granules or garlic powder, sometimes people enjoy that more than having raw garlic. Like Nora probably doesn't like the bite of that raw garlic. And so, raw, something that's not cooked, then that the granules, I like the granules the best. And the granules taste better than the powder because they are less processed. Just like not cut down as much, and so then there's not as much. Like you said, it has more surface area, but there's more surface area for the to dissipate, especially if it's in like a plastic bag or plastic container or something. I always spices in bulk and then put them in a glass jar. So that it stays better that way.
Susanna, I have a lot of questions for you. So it's interesting is we're promoting whole food plant-based eating for lots of reasons with limited fat. And in Physicians Committee in our Food for Life classes, we talk about 10% fat calories. And we're relatively agnostic about nuts, but there's other people in this space, Brenda Davis, I think Joel Furman, what's his name with Peapod? He's a good friend of mine. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on my good friend's name. So Mark, Bob Leroy. Bob actually sent me a detail. I asked him once, I said, can you send me a document about nuts? And he sent me like a 6-page document. He's very detail oriented. And there are people who promote nuts, and we don't promote eating nuts out of hand as snacks in general, except for maybe some special occasions. So one question, Suzanne, I thought maybe you could address well is fat in nuts, because there is a trade-off, and we don't have time today to go on at length about why we want to limit the amount of fat we eat. All we have to do is look around our country, and we see that people are getting bigger and bigger. And there's lots of good reasons from a diabetic point of view, from a cancer point of view, many reasons to be careful with fat. But anyhow, can you talk a little bit about fat in nuts?
Yeah, great question. And you're right, Dilip. We always talk about not eating a lot of fat, but pistachios and other nuts have a lot of monounsaturated fats. And so they actually can work to increase our LDL, our good cholesterol. So, even Dr. Greger and I know Dr. Furman talk about the importance of including nuts in our diet, but again, making sure that we're not mindlessly eating a whole bucket of nuts. Having 1 ounce of nuts a day is recommended, and there are many, many benefits. The good fats, avocado, nuts, things like that are again, there's something that we should be including in our diet. Pistachios, there have been studies that even show they can help brain health, that, plaque clogs our arteries in our brain just like it does to our heart. And eating, a serving of nuts, of pistachios, can help again lower the bad LDL cholesterol. I think I said good last time, but it can help lower cholesterol. So, include nuts, be mindful of how many you are eating, but, add walnuts to your oatmeal in the morning, or pistachios make, the date balls and things like that. There are ways to add a little bit of nuts, and they definitely have health benefits.
Hey, you know what the worst nut is, right? For you?
I'm not sure. I think you're going to tell a joke.
Donuts.
There you go. Yay. I'll remember that.
And speaking of walnuts, I love my homemade yogurt. And Cody, I love just a reminder: make sure you're doing a fresh batch of yogurt every 5 to 7 days. I brought her some culture. It's so easy, Cody. Even Nora could take that job over, couldn't she? So it's easy to make your own vegan yogurt. You can buy vegan yogurt, and if you have vegan yogurt, you can add a little bit of walnuts if you'd like, maybe a little bit of jam or maple syrup. I wanted to. We have more questions, but I wanted to do the drawing soon in case anybody needs to go. We'll keep going with Q&A for a little longer. I wanted to recognize my good friend Joanna. Hi, Joanna. Happy New Year. And I know you have some Middle Eastern background in your family, and you guys are really good cooks too. So I'm so glad I discovered sumac. Sumac is nice, and we're about to give it away. So we're giving away the sumac is a. Don't confuse it with there's a poison sumac. It's not that. So it's the berries which are ground up. And Cody, why don't you take a second, because it was new to you when I visited you. What did you think of the sumac, the flavor?
Oh, I thought it was really good. It's a very distinct flavor, and I've never tasted anything like that. So it was really fun to try something new. And you brought me, a bunch of it. So I'm really excited to start incorporating it into a lot of my dishes. So, and it's a really beautiful color. So it's like a really kind of a dark, kind of maroonish color. It was beautiful. So it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you bringing that for me, along with the yogurt.
So sumac is wonderful. It has a kind of a citrusy flavor, and we're about to give it away. Joanna mentioned she uses it in za'atar, maybe with bread. You can bake it into bread. I find mixing it with vegetables, it has this nice. I love citrus, and those of you who know me at all know I just adore citrus. You guys all know I love citrus. And so it gives you kind of a nice citrus flavor. So in a minute, I'm going to just make sure Karen has everybody's name. So make sure you add Joanna's, Pat Murphy's as well. And the second, we'll do two. I'll draw two random numbers, and then Karen, do you have a number associated with each person? And maybe in a moment, I'll just have you read off. One is such and such, two is such and such. I'll let you do that in a second. The second gift is Vegan Essentials. Vegan Essentials is a nice storefront, and they ship around the world. So you can get all sorts of products, 100% vegan. I know I'm friends with the folks who run it. Really nice couple. And they often donate to the Thanksgiving. I host the country's largest vegetarian Thanksgiving, all vegan, and they usually send a gift certificate. So it's a good company. So Karen, why don't you read off your list, and we'll see if any last, and there's time for more questions, but any more questions in time for the giveaways.
So I did put a number between 1 and 8 on these.
Yeah, so go ahead and read off question number 1 is such and such, so we'll know, make sure we've listed everybody, and we'll give folks a moment to make sure somebody who's not on the list can
Do you want me to read the names and then not tell you what number, so somebody can just pick the number?
No, say the number. So.
Okay. 1 is Laura Rochelle. 2 is Linda Pittman. 3 is Nan Lee. 4 is Joanna Stouter. 5, Janice Dorn. 6, Pat Murphy. 7, Terry Preston. And 8, James Campanero.
Okay, so there's a list of 8. I'm going to go to random.org, and I'm going to say random.org. let's see how to do this. Random.org. I want to pick, I don't know if you guys know, I teach math also. And we won't spend time right now, but it turns out you can't truly generate random numbers on the computer, and my daughter can tell you why. But I'm going to generate, you'll have to trust me, I was trying to display it, but I can't. So what I'm going to do in a moment is, that's the list. So I'm going to have random.org generate two numbers between 1 and 8. And ready? Let's see. Carolyn, can you sing a little ditty?
So
You're a
many
professional
cooks
singer.
in the kitchen.
All right, here goes. All right. The numbers are, I'm going to run again because it gave me the same number. All right. 7 and 6. 7 and 6. So this is how we will do things, 7 and 6. So who are the winners, Karen?
7 is Terry Preston, and 6 is Pat Murphy.
The way we'll do it is, Terry, can you message us? Can you send a message? Do you want the gift certificate or do you want the Sumac? And then who's number 6?
Pat Murphy.
Okay, so Terry, which one would you like? Would you like the gift certificate or the Sumac? We'll give Terry a second. So Terry, let us know. Terry wants the gift certificate. So Terry, yeah, I recommend that you send a note to Karen at somanycooks.com. You're welcome to post it here. No, just send her an email. And then she's going to get your mailing address, your email, and all that kind of stuff. And same with, who's the second winner, Karen?
Pat Murphy.
Okay. So Pat, please send a message to Karen. Let me, please email Karen at somanycooks.com if you won. Hopefully you'll see that. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so those two who won, we're really excited to get you those prizes. And please send Karen your contact, and she'll get you the prizes. And thanks, Karen, for taking care of that. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All right, let's go back to questions. So I wanted, Carolyn, for you to spend a few minutes to talk about kale. So there's many varieties of kale. And so I know you talked about it. Can you talk a little bit more about how you choose? I think every variety of kale is the same in terms of nutrition. It's very, very nutritive. What do you do with the stem? Do some varieties have more bitterness? And of course, by massaging it, you can remove some of the bitterness. So can you just take a moment to talk more about kale, Carolyn, because it's a really important ingredient.
Well, what I used today was red Russian kale in this recipe, because red Russian kale is very sturdy and holds up really well to being dehydrated. Lacinato, that I also have handy right here, lacinato is a little more delicate and doesn't hold up quite as well to this recipe being dehydrated, although I do have some pieces in here. I tried it out last night and have quite a bit of kale chips here. And some of it was lacinato, and it kind of, it's a little more delicate and falls apart a little easier. So I used red Russian in this. You could also use just regular green curly leaf kale. It's also a very sturdy kale. Lacinato tends to just be a little more tender and is going to probably lose its liquid properties a little faster, so it'll dehydrate a little more and get a little too crispy and kind of fall apart. But yeah, kale, I mean, as we know, is a superfood. So there's a lot of fiber. There's a lot of really great vitamins and minerals in it. And I think kale, from what I've read recently, kale is actually best for us if it's raw. And which is one reason a kale salad is really good. So when I made this recipe, I massaged the dressing into the kale leaves, but eating raw kale is probably the best way to go. But dehydrating it actually retains the nutritional value of it too. So it's not like it's cooked. It's only at 118 degrees. So yeah, kale is a superfood. I try to eat kale several times a week because it is just so good for you. And I think one of the reasons this recipe really needs a little bit of sweetness in it is because some types of kale can have a little bitterness to them. So that little bit of agave or dates or whatever kind of sweetener you want to use kind of counteracts the bitterness that kale can have. But usually when I make it at home, I just make it raw, or I very, very lightly steam it. One recipe I have discovered recently that is kind of crazy, but if you have an Instant Pot and a big bunch of kale, if you just tear it all up into bite-sized pieces, put it in the Instant Pot, a big bunch of it with just a few tablespoons of water on the little trivet at the bottom, and then set it to 0 minutes, like full pressure, 0 minutes. And then it'll beep as soon as it comes to pressure. You quickly release it and let all of that pressure out. It's perfect every time. And I try to serve it with lemon juice or vinegar or something like that on it, because some of that acidity helps your body to absorb more of the nutrients in the kale. So.
That's great. And I'm about to ask Susanna a question, but before I do, I wanted to thank you so much, Carolyn. Carolyn, a couple of weeks ago, sent me these amazing dates. They're the best dates I've had in my life. They're so good.
For your big birthday.
Thanks. That was really, really nice of you. I've last year I discovered Bari dates, which are my favorite, but you've turned me on to some more varieties. So thank you so much. And speaking of dates, I wanted to go back to Susanna, because Susanna did talk about dates, and you talked about that you don't have to rate limit dates, and that you were talking a little bit about the sugar in dates, and in fact talking about date sugar. So can you talk more about that? Is it truly the case that you can eat, a whole cupful of dates and not worry about blood sugar?
Well, again, you want to limit your consumption, but they show that because dates, they're a carbohydrate that our body digests it more slowly. And so it does not tend to or it's less likely to raise blood sugar. So yes, if you have diabetes, even PCRM recommends, and Dr. Greger talks a lot about it, because again, our body breaks it down. It's a complex carbohydrate, so our body breaks it down slower, and so it does not tend to raise your blood sugar as much. So, obviously everyone is different, so you have to, figure it out for your own body. But dates are a safe sweetener to eat, because it is a dried fruit. I don't know. I don't think I could eat a whole cup of dates. They're really filling, but they're just so good, and they are recommended for people who have diabetes. So don't be afraid to enjoy some dates.
If you could have Carolyn's dates, you'd eat 2 cups.
Oh gosh.
They're so good, Carolyn. That was so nice of you.
What kind of dates? What were they called?
Oasis. Oasis Date Company.
Okay, I'll have to look that up.
They have something
They
like
are
20
fabulous.
varieties of dates. And for example, the most common date in the marketplace is the what's the most common, Carolyn?
Medjool.
Yes.
Medjool, and we get good medjools, but
Yeah.
once you have the ones from Oasis, those are bigger and they're much juicier, and there's like no comparison. There's another kind that we often get in the marketplace. It's not medjool, but it's
Deglet Noor.
Deglet Noor, and I don't like them in the market. They're really stringy and dry, and I get them if there's no other date. But the ones you sent me, they're like a world apart. They're just to die for. And so I told my wife, we're not buying them locally anymore. We're going to get when these Oasis we're going to replenish more Oasis dates.
I wonder, Dilip, I also have ordered from I Love the Date Lady. How you guys
I have
familiar
too.
with Date Lady, and I don't know what kind they have, but it was just like
Bari.
caramel.
Those are
it
Bari
was-
dates.
Yeah, it was. Those were good.
Yeah,
They're like candy.
Yes.
But Susanna, before we leave this topic, you mentioned date sugar. So if you're sweetening something, are you saying, because I know Carolyn turned me on to coconut sugar, are you saying that there's, that date sugar has benefits?
Yes.
As opposed to not using any sweetener at all?
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, date sugar is high in fiber. It has B6, potassium, manganese. I mean, dates have a lot of antioxidants. So I prefer, I do use some organic sugar in my baking, but I've been switching out just, 1-to-1 with date sugar, just because you get those added benefits of fiber and all the antioxidants and things like that. So definitely date sugar is the preferred sweetener.
So somebody's asking about what Carolyn sent me, and I just happened to have this. I'm going to send it kind of unedited, and it's my view of the dates she sent me and my own personal view of these dates. So take it for what it's worth, because I know Carolyn will disagree. A couple of ones that I demerited, she would not. So it's just kind of my perspective. So Medjool, Deglet Noors, Halawi, Barhi Zahidi, and then Zahidi, Bari. And then I think there's one more that didn't show up, Halawi, I think. So those are the ones that I got.
There were 6, weren't there? I think 6 different kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance to get these amazing dates, then your life will change. It's like so good. Really,
it's like getting a big box of chocolates, except they're dates.
Much better. Much better. Speaking of sweetness, Karen, could you talk a little bit about, I noticed certain fruits like bananas when you dehydrate are sweeter, and I think it's because there's less water and you have more of the fruit. So is that an effective way of adding additional sweetness if you're craving some sweetness?
It is. It does increase the glycemic index of the food. Yeah, so dehydrating, and it's the same thing with the dates too. You eat like fresh dates as opposed to dried dates. The dried ones are sweeter. And yeah, you can like the more ripe they are, you can use these to sweeten your baked goods. Maybe mostly bananas and a little bit of dates or something, or date sugar. I mean, the date sugar is just the dried dates. Yeah. So yeah.
Nice. I really enjoyed, it was great having 2 of us. I love working with all of you. And so Cody, it was wonderful for us to actually be able to cook together. And I'm hoping that more of us can pair up. So Carolyn and I are talking about maybe doing a film screening at some point. So maybe I'll get to cook with Carolyn and any one of you. Mark, would be so awesome to cook with you. And Karen, I'd learned so much from you as well. And Susanna too. So I'm hoping that this can happen more in the future, that several of us can. Maybe Cody, you and Tammy, it would be fun for you to cook together as well. So Cody, I wanted you to take a moment to talk about that experience. For me, I thought it was a really neat thing to be in the kitchen with somebody else, because we can go back and forth and share. So I wanted you to share your perspective. What was it like cooking with somebody else who enjoys whole food plant-based cooking and knows something about it?
Well, it was so much fun, and I think we worked really well together, and I learned so much from you, Dilip. So I was really glad and thankful that you made it to Omaha to see us and spend time with us. We absolutely loved your visit. And yeah, it was just so much fun. And then you brought the seasoning, the sumac, so that was so fun to cook with and see how it's used. And you brought me all sorts of other delicious things to eat. So it was a lot of fun. So
And I love sushi. Sushi is my favorite.
she says she loves sushi.
Very much.
We get vegan sushi, and yep, we had a surprise this week of some vegan sushi, so it was such a treat.
Mom?
So
We are 6'6".
oh, she's
6'6".
So hopefully we'll see more of this again. I hope you guys, we told you that we had recorded, we were in December, and I hope it'll look live. But I'm hoping that we can have more pairs of folks together cooking. Carolyn and Karen, you're not that far apart, actually. Maybe sometime you guys can cook together, which would be really
Aren't
nice.
you in Texas? I'm in Alabama. That's pretty far, Dilip. It's like 11 hours.
It would be neat if we can get 3 or 4 of us. Maybe before our conference next summer, maybe we could come a day early and have 3 or 4 or 5 of us all cooking together, which would be pretty fun.
In a hotel room, sure.
Not in a hotel. No,
Hotel cooking.
We get a conference room. So does anybody have, sushi is good. And by the way, we see some new names today. James, you're one of the new names. So thanks. I'm glad you found our program. Hope you'll join us every month. Della, Della, you had a question earlier. And I can't remember what your question was for Carolyn about temperature of the oven. So Carolyn, did you already address it, Carolyn, about the temperature in making the?
I can. Yeah. So mostly this was dehydrated at 118 degrees. But if you do it in the oven, then you could put it at about 300 for maybe 20 minutes. I would probably take it a little bit lower than that, maybe 275, somewhere between 250, 275, and you'll go a little bit longer, maybe 30, 40 minutes, but just check back frequently. And once they get crunchy and crispy, they're done. So you don't want to get them overdone. But I've really only ever done these in my dehydrator. So, but I know you can make kale chips in your oven as well. It's not going to be able to go probably as low as you can get the dehydrator to 118 with a fan, going all night around it. But if you do it in the oven, I wouldn't go any higher than 300. And if you do it at 300, 20, 30 minutes maybe, but really watch them carefully because they can get really dried out very quickly. And you don't want them so dry that when you pick them up, they just turn into dust. So, although that would be good to crumble it on top of something, that would make a good topping on your popcorn.
I wanted to mention there are some really good new appliances. We should do a show on appliances. I really, really love my air fryer. My air fryer has built-in dehydrator, has a built-in food warmer, pizza maker. It has it has a dough conditioner. So there's a lot of nice appliances out there that can really kick your game up a bit. And you can put two layers of dehydrating, for example, in it, which is really neat too. Slow cooking. Yeah, thanks for the comment, Laura. Maybe we'll do something on appliances. We've been thinking of doing one on the Instant Pot. Maybe we should do one on our favorite appliances, which would be really neat. So yeah, I love mine too, James. So let's talk about the next show. And so Cody, in a second, I want to ask you to talk about our next kids show, and maybe Mark, you could talk about our next So Many Cooks in the Kitchen show. I'll give a little introduction. So February, we try to plan a couple months in advance, and any ideas you guys have, feel free to post or email to any of us. You can reach us. For example, you can reach Karen. Karen at somanycooks.com, Susanna at somanycooks.com, Dilip at somanycooks.com, and so forth. So feel free to email us with ideas. We have lots and lots of ideas. So if you have something you want us to make in the future, so we already have figured out our February show, which Mark will tell us about in a second. February is Valentine's Day for a lot of people. So we wanted to have kind of love-inducing kind of foods, and we talked about it's February is Cody's birthday too, so that was a good reason to do something like that too. So, Mark, can you tell us about the date, if you remember, and what we're doing?
Yeah. So the title is So Many Lovely Foods, and it is February 5th from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so last year, I know I made a kind of a classic Valentine's Day steak and baked potato with a side of broccoli. So we'll see what we come up. I've got some ideas this year for be a little bit different twist on the lovely theme. So many lovely foods, February 5th from 2 to 4 Eastern Time.
And before Cody tells us about the kids show, does anybody here have a plan? I think I know what I'm going to make for the lovely show. I'm going to make something with citrus because I love citrus so much. So I'm going to create a new dish with citrus. I'm going to make it a citrus savory dish, I think, something like that. So does anybody else want to share if you've decided what you're making for our February show?
No. Still thinking.
Okay.
I don't know yet.
Well, Cody, can you talk about, first of all, tell us what is So Many Kids in the Kitchen, and what are we doing for our next show? We're on every other month.
Yeah, so it's Dilip and his daughter, Anu, and then it's actually Anu. Dilip helps run it behind the scenes, as well as myself, and then Ella Rodriguez, and we're all Food for Life instructors. And it's our kids that actually do the show. So I got my 3 daughters, and Ella has her 2 kids, and then Dilip has his daughter. And we do kitchen to kitchen show like we do our So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. And our next show is February 12th, and our theme is foods we love. And my kids aren't quite sure what they're going to make yet either, so we're still trying to figure that out. We're excited though.
And we'd be remiss not making a quick comment about what is Food for Life and what is PCRM. So Susanna, would you like to do that?
Oh, sure. So PCRM is the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. Their offices are in Washington, D.C. And the Food for Life program trains all of us and anyone else who applies and gets accepted to help promote the benefits of plant-based eating for your health. I think they just finished up a class, didn't they?
Yeah.
Recently. So well, I've been doing this since 2014, and it's just a great program. There's lots of support, and I have learned so much from, the training and from all my fellow Food for Life instructors. But check out pcrm.org. There's a Kickstart program that they have. You can get online and look at classes so that you can take classes from all of us, in your community. Or I know a lot of us are still doing classes online through Zoom due to the pandemic. But Food for Life and PCRM is just a great organization that is committed to helping people see how easily they can begin to change what they eat and help get rid of all the deadly diseases, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and have good health.
And Carolyn, you're a professional singer, so it's your music we hear. Can you take just a moment and tell us what is So Many Cooks in the Kitchen? Because we have some new viewers today.
Oh, So Many Cooks in the Kitchen. Well, it was your idea, Dilip, back in when the pandemic first started, and we realized we couldn't teach in-person classes anymore, and most of us are just very used to teaching things in person. And we thought, and Dilip thought, and had this great idea and put it on our instructor page on Facebook. Would anybody like to do a show together online? And a whole bunch of us said yes, and here we are. So it was, I think, May of 2020 was our first show. And we are all Food for Life instructors with Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. And we go from kitchen to kitchen, which is really cool because we get to see each other's kitchens, and we have people all over the place. Over the past year and a half, or more than year and a half now, we've had people not just in the United States, but in the United Kingdom and
Italy,
Canada and
Abu
the
Dhabi.
Caribbean and South America and Abu Dhabi. Well, the one in Abu Dhabi, John was in Italy when we started, and then she moved to Abu Dhabi. So, I think it's just such a cool thing that we have Food for Life instructors all over the world. And we normally can't really get together like that any other way except going to the annual conference in Washington, D.C. every summer, which we haven't had in person for a while. But it's great to get together online and be able to do something together. So it's been really fun, and I think it was a brilliant idea, Dilip.
I have many bad ideas, but occasionally I have a decent idea.
Well, that was a good one.
Thank you. And you're giving me too much credit. It's really all of us who've really made it work. So thanks you. Maybe I had the initial thought, but it's really all of us. So thank you, Carolyn, for that. It's fun. We do this every month, and it's been really fun. So SoManyCooks.com, you can see how to see our shows. We can see them on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. And with that, we invite you guys to our future show. And one thing that Carolyn said is I still find it awkward kind of presenting to a camera. All of us were chosen to be Food for Life instructors. We're all really good presenters. Mm-hmm. I've seen Carolyn, you in action. I've seen Cody in action. And everybody's a really good presenter. But at least for me, to the camera, it's awkward. And I'm not sure I do the best job. But Cody, working with you and working with another person, having two people, I hope everybody else, I'll get to work with you guys too. It was, I think this was the best presentation I gave because I, had somebody to work with, which was great. So hopefully we'll see more of that. And so with that, there's a comment from Diane Garber. So thank you. Thanks for the nice comment. And then something about sumac. Yeah, I'm glad you got sumac. So Pat, make sure you get back to us and tell us what you thought about the sumac. So with that, we wanted to thank everybody for joining us, and stay in touch. Send your ideas our way, and we hope to see you at our February show. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy cooking. Enjoy whole food, plant-based vegan food, and have a great year ahead.
Bye.
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 So many cooks in the kitchen, so many recipes to share. So many cooks in the kitchen with meals for your to prepare. We've got fruits and grains, veggies and beans, more healthy food than you've ever seen. So many cooks in the kitchen, plant-based meals to prepare. So many cooks in the kitchen, with ideas we're happy to share.